One of the most common questions which I get asked is shockwave therapy an electric shock? And to be honest, fair question. From one man to another, I'd want to know if this is an electric shock or if it's not. So I'm going to explain to you exactly what shockwave therapy is, what we're doing for ED, and what the likely outcomes are that you might get. So firstly, I've got it switched off at the moment because there's a little bit of sound associated with it being on, but this is a shockwave therapy machine and it's not using electric shocks. It's just got a really crappy name. A shock wave is essentially a fast moving sound wave, okay? So I know it's a weird analogy, but if you're in a car and you have a gun and you fire the gun and the windows break, it's the shock wave from the explosion of the firearm which hit the window and made it smash. A fast moving sound wave hit the window, changed the makeup of it and made it smash. And a shockwave therapy machine is conceptually the same, but on a much, much lower degree. So when this is working, what it's doing is there's a very small explosion inside here. There's water pressure coming from the back of it. It pushes the shockwave from the very small explosion into a magnifying glass, and then we can magnify and target the area that we want to treat with that shockwave. And it's obviously modulated so that we can change the power. We know exactly how much power is going to be safe for treating men's health, and we would never go over that because we know that from all of the research that's been done that that is a safe amount to do, which means that we can utilize this very interesting high frequency sound wave in a very safe way to be able to treat ED, which is what I'll explain to you next. So for the treatment of erectile dysfunction, we only really treat a couple of different types of ED with shockwave therapy, and I'm going to explain the difference today. So one of the things which shockwave does, which they would have found out during medical trials, is that it creates a healing response in the body, okay? So it's first used for breaking things down. If you think like their first mindset is, okay, we've got a kidney stone, let's try and break it down with the shockwave. But what they found from those trials is that actually people started to report a lot of improvements in general symptoms like back pain and things like that. So the hypothesis was, well, this might be creating a healing response that actually helps with all these other things. And it's that healing response which we're utilizing for ED, but in a slightly different way. The two types of ED which we treat with shockwave therapy are essentially vascular erectile dysfunction, which is when the blood vessels in the penis have lost their health, they've lost their capacity to open up, and we can make big changes there, and I'll explain how that works. But also pelvic floor dysfunction as well, when those muscles get too tight and they start to pinch on the nerves, and that causes erectile dysfunction for people. Shockwave therapy is then a really good option for treating the pelvic floor muscles too. But to start off with, let's talk about vascular ED and how shockwave treats it. So inside the penis, we have some blood vessels which run along the top. And those blood vessels are very, very small, so we call it a microvascular system. Most of the patients we treat are going to have some kind of history of maybe diabetes or high blood pressure. Not everyone, but most are going to have something which is going to indicate that those blood vessels have become damaged over time. Because shockwave is creating a healing response, we can target those damaged blood vessels with this sound wave, and the body heals itself from the sound wave and therefore starts to improve the function of those current blood vessels. But the really important thing happens if we carry on the treatment process. You see, as we go through a course of treatment of shockwave therapy, what men will actually get is brand new blood vessels being created by the body as a consequence of the treatment. What this is essentially doing is like stressing the area slightly. It's a pro-inflammatory treatment, so we're working with the body's natural healing mechanisms. And if we continue that course of treatment across 12 appointments, then by the end, what we start to see is the body's reaction, not just being to heal itself, which helps a little bit at the start, but actually to be like, I'm just going to throw down new blood vessels in this area to help support myself against whatever this thing is, which is the shockwave therapy. It's an adaptive process, a lot like if you go to the gym and you stress your muscle out in the gym, when you get home, the body recovers from the gym, and the way it recovers is to lay down new muscle. The way your body is recovering from shockwave after the course of treatment is to lay down new blood vessels, and those blood vessels can then be utilized for your erections, therefore reversing erectile dysfunction. The way shockwave therapy is working for pelvic floor related erectile dysfunction is very different. So firstly, what is that? Well, the pelvic floor, if we look, we've got penis, scrotum, and then we're into the perineum just underneath. In the perineum are these muscles, and they're your pelvic floor muscles. And over time, they can get too tight. For whatever reason, some people are just prone to muscle tension. Some people start a new exercise plan and it overworks them. Some people start a new job and their posture changes. But whatever happens, those muscles tighten, all the connective tissue tightens, and the nerves which run through those muscles end up getting pinched, and they get pain on ejaculation, they get discomfort in the area, they might get some urinary symptoms, they might get some sensation reduction in the penis, but they also get erectile dysfunction. The way we treat that with shockwave is to treat it right into the muscles in the perineum, in the pelvic floor, because that healing response, which is starting with shockwave, is essentially going to cause these muscles to reduce in their tension, giving us then an opportunity to give people the right exercises which actually work for them so that they can start to rehab it. Most of the men we see with pelvic floor issues have tried exercises, but often it's made it worse, or at least it hasn't changed it. With shockwave, it opens up a window of opportunity in your body for us to then give you the right exercises which won't make the symptoms any worse, and we can rehab you out of this pelvic floor dysfunction. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. That's a little bit about actually what's happening with the shockwave, how it works, how we treat it. If you're in the London, Surrey, Sussex area, you're struggling with erectile dysfunction, we're absolutely here to help. We treat a lot of guys with this. We know what we're doing, and everyone can start with a nice, easygoing, free call, okay? You don't have to commit. You don't have to spend any money. You can just get on the phone with us, explain a little bit about your symptoms, and we can at least just have the opportunity to tell you how we might be able to help. If you want to do that, there's always links on our website, or there'll probably be a link in the comments from us just to say how to get that booked. If not, subscribe, keep watching the stuff, and when you're ready, we'll still be here.